Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to my sick winter 2022-2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. Wow, here we go again. It's time to bring you another epic winter update. Can you believe last week's 5th winter update had 13,000 views? Absolutely incredible. I can't believe how much interest there is for this year's winter update. But I'm not overly surprised given the energy prices and whatnot. So the reasons are very obvious. There is so much interest this year about what's going to happen for this coming winter. So we're going to bring another winter update again, so we're going to be looking at things like sea surface temperature, anomalies, solar activity, Eurasian snow cone. We're going to have loads of analogues for September data at the beginning and at the end of the update, and there's going to be so much in between. We've got quite a bit to show you on the stratosphere as well, so it's going to be epic. Sit back, relax and enjoy, and I shall talk you through our 6th winter update in a moment. Let's play the GIF. Here we go. Thank you, Richard, for the GIF. And of course it's Roger the Robin. That's not a Robin, or might not be a Robin, or probably is a Robin, we don't know. But anyway, it's Roger the Robin. We've named the GIF. Thank you so much everybody who took part in naming the GIF. Paul James entry was picked out on the name picker, and yeah, so that little fella there is Roger the Bird. I don't know. Thank you so much everybody who entered, and thank you so much Richard for the GIF. I'm going to say thank you so much to Richard for all the help through this video. In a moment you're going to see the swingometer. So, King of Swing Richard has sent the latest swingometer through to me. You'll see how winter updates are looking after 5 updates in a second. Thank you so much to Shryan as well, to Shryan Bruin, who I think is on holiday at the moment. I think Shryan's having a holiday in the Canary Islands, I think. So good old Shryan, well done, Shryan. I wish I could have joined you. No, I don't. I've got winter updates to do. So, but thank you so much, Shryan and Richard. When we get to the sections that they have helped with, of course, I will give them a shout. I've got 88 tabs here to get through. I'm going to try and get this out around 40-45 minutes. So can I do it? Can I get this video done in 45 minutes? I better shut up. If there's any chance of being able to do that, please like the video, everybody. Please share and subscribe. You will be able to see future weather content, including future winter updates, if you do that. Right, so here we go then. First thing I'm going to show you is going to be the swingometer. So let's count this down, shall we? This is how the winter updates are looking, what they're favouring in terms of cold or mild after 5 updates. So 3, so 2, so 1. Here we go. Sorry, everyone. Wow, swingometer says 58% chance of a mild winter, no change from last week. So after 5 updates, we are favouring with our winter updates a milder than average winter by 58%. That is unchanged on the week before. So the swingometer very steady after 5 updates, favouring a mild winter by 58%. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you so much, Richard, our King of Swing, for the swingometer. What a way to start this 6th winter update. You will find out next week how the swingometer is looking after 6th update, and you'll find out at the beginning of next week's 7th update how we're looking. Right, okay, what a way to start. Here we go then. Let's have a look at some analogues, shall we? So we're going to bring some September data, rainfall and CET data for this update. The rainfall data is what we're going to start with. We'll have a look at CET at the end of the video. So this is the England Wales precipitation page from the UK Met Office every year, going back to so 1766 is listed here, but we're not interested that far back. We only want to see what September's England weather precipitation was for 2022, and there it is, 89.9%, a slightly wetter month in September compared to what's happening most of this year. Just have February there as our only wet month this year. I think that's like a little bit above average, actually, for rainfall. So it was a slightly wetter than normal September, I believe. So we're going to be looking at winters that follow September's with an England weather precipitation range of 78 to 100 millimetres for this opening section of the 6th winter 2022-2023 update. Thank you so much to Shryan for getting all of these years together. And of course, 78 to 100 millimetres places 2022, September 2022, slap bang in the middle of that range. So our first year that we begin with is 1951, 1952. This is an unsettled winter with low pressure covering northern and west Europe. High pressure is pulled out into the Atlantic. I don't think it's a particularly cold winter, but there are cold snaps. Then we've got 1952, 1953. So this one has high pressure just to our west and northwest. Low pressure is to the south, and winds are coming in from an east-northeasterly type direction. That has some cold snaps coming and going as well. We've got 1953, 1954, so we're going to run here through the 1950s. Wow. Our next September in England Wales precipitation range of 78 to 100 millimetres is 1953. The winter of 1953-1954 is a cold winter, especially later on. Has quite a bit of high pressure over Scandinavia and quite a lot of easterly winds coming and going. And again, that's particularly later on, the early part of winter. December 1953, not overly cold, but later on, through January and particularly into February 1954, it does get colder. We've got 54-55 showing up next. What a run through the 1950s, can you believe that? This is a genuinely cold winter with high pressure set over or just south of Greenland. Low pressure is to our south and east, winds coming in from an east or northeasterly direction. Again, relatively mild through December of 1954, but from early January onward, January, February 1955 are a pair of genuinely cold and wintry months. We've got 56, 57, so a little bit of a gap, and then 1956, 1957. This is just a mild westerly Atlantic-driven winter with winds coming in from off the Atlantic Ocean. It does have a white Christmas, though, in December 1956, interestingly. A little bit of a gap then through to 1961, 1962. So this is a fairly chilly winter, but it's largely forgotten because of the winter that followed it, of course. So this one with high pressure to our west, low pressure to our east, has quite a bit of northerly influences. I think there's like a cold Christmas and New Year in 1961 to 1962. Then there's a milder period, and then it gets very cold later on in February and really cold in March of 1962. So a little bit on and off, but does have some cold weather. A long gap then. I'll show you from 1950s. There's a long gap to 1982, 1983. So the next time we have a September with an England weather precipitation range of 78 to 100 millimetres is September 1982. The analogue for winter 82-83 doesn't necessarily show you all that much, really, because it has high pressure to the south and low pressure to the north, which looks like quite a classic sort of westerly winter, but it does have a cold February in 1983 with quite a bit of snow then. Another relatively long gap to 1992, 1993. This is a mild, quite dry 1990s winter. Most of the winters in the 1990s are dry. That's another one that's dry in 92, 93 and quite mild. I should say most of the winters in the 1990s are mild. Some of them are dry, some of them are wet. Next we've got 2001, September 2001. Has that precipitation range of 78 to 100 millimetres. This one, again, the analogue doesn't show all that much. December was quite cold in 2001. January was dry, started off very cold and frosty, then got much milder, and then February was very mild and very wet. We've got 2010, 2011. So the December to remember is showing up here. We've got the blocking around Greenland. We've got the low pressure down into Spain. We've got wind in from the east and the northeast. Of course, we know that it's a very front-loaded winter. Coldest December for the CET since 1890, but with a very mild February at the end. And then we've got 2012, 2013. So September 2012 had an England Wales precipitation range of 78 100 millimeters. The winter of 2012, 2013 was a backloaded winter. So again, has blocking between Greenland and Scandinavia, winds in from the east. So a cold late winter, in particular December 2012, relatively mild, quite unsettled, and then it gets progressively colder throughout the rest of the winter, culminating in an exceptionally cold March. Two of these years have exceptionally cold Marches, interestingly, 1962 and 2013. Right, that's the last year. So putting all of that together then, this is how all Decembers combined are looking following a September England Wales precipitation range of 78 to 100 millimeters. Low pressure tending to be to the south. There is signs of a little bit of blocking up towards Greenland and over into the northwest of Russia. And, signs that jet stream push southwards in a lot of the December. So certainly cold snap potential is there, I think, for a lot of those Decembers. All Januaries combined look like that. Generally quite westerly. Lower pressure up to the north, higher pressure to the west and to the southwest. Winds pretty much set from off the Atlantic. Remember, there will be years that deviate with that. So we've got 1955 in there, for example, which is quite a cold January. All Februaries combined, by far the greatest cold potential out of all of 3 months, with high pressure in the North Atlantic up to south of Greenland and low pressure across much of southern Europe, winds in from that easterly direction, so favouring a cold February there after those Septembers. And finally, all winters combined following September, England Wales precipitation range of 78 to 100 millimeters looks like that. High pressure tends to be to the west northwest, lower pressure to the east and southeast. Certainly cold snap potential, and that's particularly so for December and February, a little bit less so for January, but overall not too bad there for anyone who wants a cold winter. Rather colder set than we've seen for a little while, I think. Right, so we're done for that first section of this winter update. I'll pause the video there. When we come back, we're going to return with the Quasi-Biennial Oscillation. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the 6th Winter 2022-2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. If you've enjoyed the video so far, please can you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody. But then now, let's play the gear. There we go, Rich. We're playing it. Play it, Rich. Play the gear. Thank you so much, Richard, for our gear. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to move on now to the Quasi-Biennial Oscillation. So this is from NASA, and what you have to think of this is that this is the top of the atmosphere in the stratosphere just here at 10 HPA. This is the boundary level of the atmosphere where weather takes place, we call the troposphere, at 30 to 50 HPA. The sandy brown colours are the westerly phases of the Quasi-Biennial Oscillation, and the blue colours are the easterly phases of the QBO. So you can see that last winter was an easterly QBO descending there from the troposphere into the stratosphere. No, from the stratosphere. What am I doing? Descending from the stratosphere to, let's go over here, the troposphere. Well, you can see that now we're well and truly in the westerly phase of the QBO. So got the sandy brown colours here that have moved down from the troposphere, from the stratosphere into the troposphere. And yeah, there we go. We're in a westerly QBO phase, and we will remain in the westerly phase of the Quasi-Biennial Oscillation for the winter of 2022-2023. We have the number in now for last month of September in terms of the QBO. So this is the QBO page here. No, every month's QBO back to the 1950 it's listed, and we come down to 2022 so far. You can see that we start off with negative numbers in 2022, easterly QBO. That reverses through the summer And our latest number for September 2022 is 9.80. September 2022 comes out with a QVO number of plus 9.80. That's a further increase on what we saw in August at plus 7.87, and also July at plus 3.04. So clearly we're moving further and further on into the westerly QVO phase, and we expect these numbers to get more positive over the rest of the autumn and probably into the winter. They'll reach their peak probably early spring, something like that, and then through the spring into the summer they will hopefully, if everything works as we expect it to, start to fade back into the next easterly QVO phase. So that's the number for September. The QVO plus 9.80, westerly QVO continues. This is the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast chart from NASA. Shall we just zoom in a little bit on this and have a look? Let's have a look then. Right, so the black line shows we've been with the Arctic Oscillation, red line to where GFS ensembles forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. Remember, it's just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, doesn't drive anything in its own terms, just tells what the atmosphere is doing. We've got a very, very positive AO at the moment, really positive AO, actually. We're up here, and the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to stay very positive over the next week or so, but then we get quite a significant drop in the AO back towards neutral as we go into the third week of October. So this tells us at the moment we've got lots of low pressure up over the Arctic and over the North Pole, but we might start to see that weakening, fading, and maybe a little bit of blocking begin to appear as we go into the third week of October. No, not going negative though with the AO, so we have to keep this in perspective. This is how the NAO observed and forecast chart is looking. Again, very similar, just an index that's reflecting atmospheric state, doesn't drive anything its own terms, just tells what the atmosphere is doing. At the moment, the NAO is in a neutral phase. Back in September, pretty much of the time, the NAO was negative, especially early on, but at the moment, NAO is neutral. GFS ensembles are forecasting the NAO to stay around neutral and possibly going a little bit weakly negative into the second half of October. So no sign of the positive phase of the NAO powering up, which tells us that maybe the westerlies are going to be a little bit weaker as we continue through October. But offsetting that, of course, with a very positive AO that we've got at the moment. This is from the ECM-WF, the latest seasonal model forecast of the ECM-WF was released a few days ago. This is a forecast for the North Atlantic Oscillation. A little bit positive, but a little bit complicated, I should say. But what you need to know is that this is October, just here, forecast for October. This is the forecast for November, just here. This is forecast for December, just here. That's forecast for January, just there, and that's forecast for February, just there. So in October, the ECM model is forecasting a positive, actually potentially quite strongly positive Arctic Oscillation, North Atlantic Oscillation, I should say, during October. So forecast very positive NEA for October. But look what happens in November. We're down here with the forecast, albeit there is a bit of a range of error, but the central range is about there, and that's forecasting a negative NEO then in November. So we have a positive NEO forecast in October, a negative NEO forecast in December, and also a negative NEO forecast within the central range in December as well, maybe a little bit more so. So November, December, potentially negative with the NEO. That could be a colder signal for those months. In January, very, very mixed. There's a big range from positive to negative in January. Probably seeing the NEO, the forecast is probably sending the NEO more towards neutral in January, but there is a possibility that the negative NEO could continue, actually, albeit more weakly negative, but could continue into January. And then by the time you get through to February, the ECM seasonal model wants to send the NEO more positive as we get into the latter stages of winter, although only weakly so. But there is a large range between strongly positive up there and strongly negative down there. But it's really November and December, possibly also January, but particularly November and December. It looks quite interesting there with both both months being predicted to have a negative LEO after a strongly positive LEO in October. We'll keep an eye on that ECMWF seasonal model, of course, when it updates again next month. Right, stratospheric development. So this is how things are currently looking over the Arctic and the North Pole. They've got these blue, because these are the cold temperatures at 10 HPA in the stratosphere. That's the polar vortex at its roots, if you like. See how it's been stretched from the Arctic towards Canada. And so this is like a beginning of a weakening of the polar vortex at its roots in terms of the zonal winds. Let's run through, see what GFS is forecasting to happen. So very much stretching the polar vortex at its roots as we go through the next few days. Then it starts to move back towards Greenland and the North Pole as we get into in towards about day 10. Something like that. And moving on into the extended range, so beyond day 10, again we see those blue colours very stable, very steady, back in there over the Arctic and over the North Pole. So after the weakening, after stretching the weakening of the polar vortex at its roots in the next few days, we're going to see things returning close to normal, and that'll probably see the polar vortex beginning to get a little bit stronger again as well, maybe. Possibly signs of a little bit of a warming over Siberia. That's a very weak one, but a little bit of a warming over Siberia, then right at the very end of the GFS run, goes 24th of October. Nothing but would do any damage to the PB, but it is early on to be seeing any sort of warming really over Siberia. So that is quite interesting. So this is the zonal mean zonal wind forecast from the ECMWF. They have so much data now. ECMWF. It really is amazing how much data they provide. This is taking us to the latter stages of November, so for the next 6 weeks. You see at the moment, solar winds are actually weaker than average. Solar winds have weakened. This red line here is average, so we're weaker than average with solar winds. Therefore, the polar vortex is weaker than normal at the moment as its roots in the stratosphere. As we go into the last week or so of October, we're going to see the solar wind powering back up again, though. So this weakening of the solar wind only lasts for a few days, and then we'll see things getting stronger again. So the PB actually being a little bit stronger than average potentially by the time we get into the third week of October. And then hovering quite close to average as we go into November, albeit a lot of scatter. So some of these ensemble poly members are really powering up the PV, but some of them are dropping them out, and those will be associated with a southern stratospheric warming, probably. These are going for a reversal as though winds. So there's only a few dim at the moment. It's very early days to be seeing any sign of that within the ensemble. So that's one to watch. That could be a slow burner as we go through November and into December, because we have an early stratospheric warming and a reversal of zonal winds. This is the temperature forecast for the next 6 weeks in terms of the temperature at 10 HPA over the North Pole. So about average at the moment for this coming week, 10th to 17th of October, 10 HPA, and also 17th to 24th of October. It goes a little bit colder than average there, those blue colours appearing as we get into week 3, which is the 24th to the 31st of October, 31st of October, 7th of November. Again, a little bit colder than average around Greenland, near normal elsewhere. Week 4 is the 7th to the 14th of November. Again, got those blue colours, so a little bit below average there into early November. But we get through to the 14th, week 6, which is the 14th, 21st of November. And not much happening over the Arctic itself, but you notice quite a significant warming is beginning to move from like southern Europe into Siberia, into Russia up here, which again is quite unusual for us to start seeing that in November. So what that would lead to, if anything, we can't really say, but it would be interesting to see what the upshot of that would be. And we're going to keep an eye on, of course, on stratospheric developments over the next few weeks. Always very important to keep an eye on those stratospheric developments. So activity next is solar disk is looking On our side of this today, from Surham.net, we have various sunspot regions, lots of them. Sun activity is at moderate levels today and is expected to fall to low levels in the next 3 days. This is the GavsWeatherVids Winter Update Solar Activity Tracker, updated by Schreier before he went off on holiday. So, increasing activity at the moment. The orange line and orange spots depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. You can see that in recent days we have almost reached a par with where we was up there, which is the biggest spike so far during this solar cycle number 25 back in the latter stages of May. I haven't quite surpassed it, but almost over the past few days. And it's certainly enough to lift the green line, which is our 30-day average. That's lifting up quite substantially now, and actually the green line is higher than it's been through this solar cycle. The 30-day average is now higher than it's been at any time through this solar cycle. So it does look as though solar activity is picking up. As you'd expect, we're moving towards solar maximum. And it's all very, very much what you'd expect to see during this phase of the solar cycle. So definitely going through a more active period of sunspots. Now, this is a blast from the past, isn't it? Who am I today? Oh. Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Richard, for turning me into Johnny Cash. I love Johnny Cash. This is P. Love Johnny Cash as well. I love Johnny Cash. Right, so this is also a bit of a blast from the past. This is showing spotless days and the current spotless stretch. So we have had 1 day for 2022 so far without sunspots, which is less than 1% of the year. That's comparable to 2021, which had 64 days without sunspots. That is 18%, or was 18% of the year. 2020 had 208 days without sunspots, which was 57% of the year, and 2019 had 281 days without sunspots, which was 77% of the year. That was solar minimum year, of course. Our comparable year is 2011, so 2011 had 2 days without sunspots. Again, less than 1% of the year in 2011 had days without sunspots. So very, very similar this year to 2011 in terms of total spotless days. And of course, over the next 2-3 years, we can expect all days to have sunspots. And if we start seeing days without sunspots, we'll know that something very strange is going on. Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. I don't know. Right, we'll pause the video there. Been talking for just over 25 minutes. When we come back, we're going to show you sea surface temperature anomaly data. Thank you so much to Shrine and Richard for all of the solar data, by the way. Thank you, Shrine and Richard, for that. Right, let's pause the video there, and I shall see you in 2 seconds. Okay, hello there, we're back and ready to resume the 6th Winter 2022-2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. If you've enjoyed the video so far, then please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. Drop a comment, let us know what about this winter update and all of our updates. Right, sea surface temperature anomaly data next. This is how the ocean's looking when we did last week's winter update number 5. So 4 areas of interest. ENSO region just here, Northern Pacific over there, Indian Ocean over here, North Atlantic over there. That's how the ocean's looking last week. This is the latest. So in terms of the ENSO region, La Nina, probably not all that much strengthening has occurred over the past week. Everything looking very stable. That is clearly La Nina signature. All regions of the equatorial Pacific Ocean there are cold on average, so that's clearly a La Nina signal. Coldest over in the east, but I'm not sure there's been much strengthening over the past week there. Maybe even a slight weakening over in the eastern portion of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So La Nina looking very stable. Northern Pacific, that's how the Northern Pacific looked last week, particularly focusing over there. This is the very latest for this week. Very little change, but possibly a little bit of a cooling has taken place through there, but still looking very warm, really, in that northeastern corner of the Pacific Ocean. And then into the Indian Ocean. Again, that's how things looked last week. Cool through there, warm through there. This is the latest. No real changes. With that, the negative IOD signature continues, so it remains cool through there. It remains warm through there. That's the negative signature for the IOD. In the North Atlantic, again, that's how things were looking over in the North Atlantic last week. Let's see what the latest is. Very little change again. Very, very warm North Atlantic up here. Tropics looking quite warm. Everywhere looking quite warm in the Atlantic, really. That's the 7-day change for the sea surface temperatures. So things did get a bit warmer over in the Indian Ocean through there. But nevertheless, it's still colder than average. In the ENSO region, generally most regions warmed up a little bit over the, what am I doing with that? So things did warm up a bit over here. And generally in the ENSO region, most areas did warm a little bit as well. So that's the reason that the development of La Nina, it didn't strengthen over the past week. Nevertheless, obviously we still have La Nina and we will do so into winter. In the Northern Pacific, so it's warmed a bit there, but cooled a bit through there, as we observe. And in the North Atlantic, despite being very, very warm in the North Atlantic, it has actually cooled in these areas over the past 7 days. But of course, it's cooled by like 2 or 3 degrees, but it's still several degrees above average, so the anomaly remains pretty warm. Down in the tropics, it's still warming up through there, still warming through large portions of the tropical Atlantic. CMSB2 is forecasting La Nina to continue at weak to borderline moderate levels through to winter. So dates much period through there. Temperature is on the side. Black dash line, very stable. Now predicted to be very stable right way through to around January. So that's around 1 degree below average in the central equatorial Pacific Ocean. So La Nina is predicted by CFS to remain at weak to borderline moderate levels. This is the Southern Oscillation Index from Queensland Government. So this is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state of the Southern Pacific Ocean. When you've got a positive SY, the atmospheric state reflects La Nina. You've got a negative SY, atmospheric state reflects El Nino. So these are icons just here. It's measuring air pressures between Tahiti and Darwin, and then we have our overall SOI number through there. Positivity continues, really, as you'd expect at the moment. So all days showing positive numbers, some a little bit more so than others, but every day over the past week has been positive with the SOI. So the atmosphere and the ocean remain well and truly coupled. The 30-day SOI average, this red line just here, very, very strong and stable. The SOI stays in a strong and positive phase, tells us the atmosphere and the ocean remain strongly coupled. Connected to sea surface temperatures, of course, is the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. So these are the latest scores from scores on the doors from Wikipedia. So far we have had a total of 12 depressions, 10 storms, 4 hurricanes, and 2 major Category 3 or above hurricanes. What's H doing? Let's have a look. Ace Master Shrine updated this before he went off on his holidays. So Ace is depicting every season's worth of energy generated by these tropical storms and hurricanes and whatnot. Classification for Ace is below normal, near normal, above average, hyperactive. We go back to 1851 with this, but we want to come down to our latest year, and these are the numbers. So Ace for 2022 is currently sitting at 79.20. That is under par for what you'd expect at this point of the year. You expect to have had to be at 101.70 up to the 7th of October. So that's after 10 tropical storms, 4 hurricanes, 2 majors, and you would have expected to have 12 tropical storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 majors. So still running a little bit below par, but has caught up nearer to normal now. The classification at the moment, provisional. This, of course, at the moment is near normal for this season, but certainly at the low end of near normal. Thank you so much, Ace Master Shrine, for updating that. Right, Eurasian snow cover data next. I think we'll start closing down 1 or 2 of these tabs to help me with the comparison. There we go. So this is how Eurasian snow cover was looking when we did last week's 5th update. Plenty of snow over eastern portions of Siberia. Let's have a look at the latest. This is it. And further gains. We've had further gains up to the 7th of October for Eurasian snow cover over the past week. You expect that, of course. Eventually, all of this is going to become snow cover. The snow line will eventually get into the far west of Russia. So you expect to be getting gains week by week at this point, and we have had quite significant gains there from last week. But how are we comparing with past years? Let's have a quick look, shall we? So, first year is 2021. We have more snow cover this year than at this point in 2021. That is 2020. Now, that's an interesting year because actually it wasn't eastern Siberia that got covered with snow first. It was like this central part of Russia, central Siberia, that got covered with snow. I would suspect probably we're ahead this year, but the areas that are covered or are covered this year, were covered in 2020, are different. That's 2019. How are we comparing with 2019? I think we're a little bit behind this point in 2019. That is 2018. We're well ahead of 2018 at this point. Though notice Scandinavia started to get some snow at this point, whereas we don't see much so far this year for Scandi. That is 2017. I think probably quite close to 2017, actually. That'd be one of the closer years, I think. That's 2016. How do we compare with that? Maybe a little bit ahead of 2016 this year. That's 2015. Again, areas covered are a little bit different. I think we got more snow cover overall this year than 2015, but 2015 have got it more in the north of central Siberia. So you see, it does vary year by year, the areas that get covered first. That's 2014. Probably a little bit ahead overall of 2014, but wouldn't be much in it. That's 2013, which I think we're a little bit behind 2013 at this point. That's 2012. I think we're ahead of 2012. That's 2011. We're ahead of 2011 as well. That's 2010. We're ahead of 2010. That is 2009, well ahead of 2009, but 2009 is an interesting year because we get early snow cover over Scandinavia, and by 7th of October 2009, we're already seeing signs of some of that snow cover appearing over Scandinavia. So that's a very interesting and unusual year, 2009. That's 2008, we're way ahead of 2008, of course. That is 2007. So we're a little bit ahead of 2007. That's 2006, which I think we're ahead of as well. That's 2005. We're ahead of 2005. That is 2004. I think we're ahead of that year as well. So we're not doing too badly, are we, historically? That's 2003. I think we're ahead of that year as well. 2002, we're behind. We had a very rapid expanse of snow cover in October 2002, so we're now quite significantly behind 2002. That's 2001, we're ahead of 2001 at this point. That's 2000, we're ahead of that year as well. That's 1999, probably a little bit ahead of 1999. I think that's 1998, could be a little bit behind 1998 or quite close. Right, so that's as far as we can go there, but we are going to go back in further. I won't do the comparison mode, so just keep this in mind, Joe. Keep this in mind where we are up to the 7th of November there. Keep that chart in your mind. We're at Rutgers Snow Lab now. We're going to go back to the 96s very quickly. So this is 1997. And we are ahead of 1997 at this point. That's 1996, probably quite close to that one. That is 1995. I think we're a little bit ahead of 1995 at this point. That's 1994, we're ahead of that one. 1993, I think we're a little bit ahead of that one. 1992, ahead of 92, 91, well ahead of this point, 1991 and 1990. 1989, probably a little bit ahead of that, maybe not much in it. Way ahead of 1988, barely any snow cover at all at this point in 1988. What a shocker. 1987, we're ahead of that year. 1986, we're a little bit ahead of 86. Way ahead of 85, ahead of 84. 1983, I think we're ahead of that year. 1982, ahead of that year. 1981, well ahead of that year. 1980, barely anything at this point, ahead of that year. Remember, we're looking here, of course. You've got to turn your head you know, stand on your head for this. 1979, a little bit ahead of that year, I think. 1978 ahead of that year. 1977, we're behind 1977 at this point. 1976, probably quite close to that one. 1975, maybe a little bit ahead of that one. 1974, ahead of that year. 1973, I think we are ahead of that year. We're ahead of 72, we're ahead of 71, we're ahead of 70, no data for 69. Probably quite close to 1968, I think, maybe a little bit behind that year. And 1967, we're well ahead of that year, and we're also ahead of 1966 as well. So we're somewhere in the pack, really. We're somewhere in the pack. Not doing too badly at all. Right, we're going to pause the video one last time. And when we come back, we're going to look at September CET data. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the final part of the epic SIP Winter 2022-2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. I hope you enjoyed it so far. I've just got a little bit more data to show you. I won't talk about anything else. So let's do it. We're going to look at CT data now with the analogues. So the September CT came out at 14.4. There we see it, 14.4 CT for September 2022, which is about 0.9 of a degree above average. So very simply, we're going to be looking at winters following September's with a CET range of the 14.2 to 14.6. Thank you so much, Shrine, for getting these years together for us. Right, so first winter is 1955-1956, for a September CET range of 14.2 to 14.6. This has shown quite a lot over our winter update so far. High pressure around green and low pressure through here. We know what happens with this winter. It starts off well, has a severely cold February. Then we've got 1956, 1957. This is a mild Atlantic-driven winter. We saw it in the earlier analog package. It does have a white Christmas, but overall, it's a mild westerly winter. Long gap then to 1970, 1971. Next one I have a September CET range of 14.2, 14.6. This one with higher pressure up there, low pressure down there. You don't have to think it's a cold winter. It's not really, but it does have quite a coldish spell in December. It has a white Christmas actually in 1970 with east winds, but otherwise the rest of winter is quite mild. 1973, 1974 is our next winter. This one with low pressure just to the west, so this is quite a wet winter, wet and mild in 73, 74. 1980, 1981, about average sort of winter, really. It has quite a cold January, I think, in 1981. Otherwise, the rest of winter is relatively mild. I could be wrong about that. 81, 82 is a cold winter, following September CET range of 14.2 to 14.6. Very cold December, and has a severely cold spell through early January of 1982 as well. It does get much milder in February, though, so the late winter turns mild, but the early part of 81, 82 is very, very cold, with severely cold weather in both December and also in January. Another cold winter here in 85, 86. So this one, again, has a severely cold February, interestingly. Got 1956 and 1986, both severely cold February's here. High pressure towards green and low pressure over and to the south of the country, winds in from the east. The cold is on off through December. Well, it has relatively mild December in 1985. Gets colder around Christmas to New Year. Then the cold is on off through January, and then it really locks in at the end of January. And February is severely cold in 1986. 1989, 1990 is mild and wet, stormy winter. Low pressure in off the Atlantic, winds in from the west and from the southwest. 1991, 1992 is dry and mild with high pressure centred over western parts of Europe. 97, 98 is also a very mild winter. This one with high pressure across many western parts of Europe. Winds coming up from the south. So that's exceptionally mild winter for 97, 98. 2003, 2004. Showing up next. Following September CET range of 14.2. 14.6. This one with high pressure out to our west, low pressure to our east. Winds coming in from a north northerly direction, but it's relatively mild winter. You normally didn't think it's cold winter. It's not. It's actually relatively mild winter. It does get colder towards the end of February. We're out of order there. So 2002, 2003 should have been there. Never mind. So this one again, it's like another failed cold winter you're looking about. And think that it would be cold winter. It's not. It's relatively mild winter. So there, 0203 and 0304, they're like failed cold winters really. We've got 2009, 2010, which is a very cold winter though. Low pressure pushed to our south, high pressure around Greenland, and the jet stream going southwards as well. That's very cold winter in 2009 and 2010. And then finally, the last winter is 2019-2020, which is the polar vortex of doom winter. Of course, very mild and wet and stormy for that one. So putting all of that together, this is how all December's combined are looking following September CET range of 14.2 to 14.6. Actually quite interesting for people like cold weather. We have got some mid latitude, some North Atlantic ridging there, North Atlantic ridge, and going towards Greenland, low pressure to our east and north. So it would favour winds in from the northeast a lot of the time. Could be cold for December. January, it all falls apart, really. So January going towards something quite a lot more unsettled, but also milder. Does have some high pressure towards Greenland, but it's more towards the Canadian side of Greenland. So I think relatively mild signal for the Januaries. And then February, it's like a battle type thing. So we have got some high pressure over Scandinavia, we've got low pressure in the Atlantic. So we find ourselves in a bit of a no man's land with February. Probably overall both favouring milder and unsettled. And all winters combined for in September, CET range of 14.2, 14.6 looks like that. So relatively unsettled, but low pressure is going south. So that's particularly so in December, I think. Does have some higher pressure up here, but more towards the Canadian side of Green. Not a clear-cut signal for cold, but there are several cold winters within the analogues package, which is what you expect with this, because when you have September CET in the 14s, it's balanced between colder and milder options. The lower the September CET goes, seemingly, the more chance that you could get a cold winter. Conversely, the higher the September CET goes, the less chance you have of a cold winter, more chance you have of a mild winter, especially when you get into the 15 Celsius with the CET. So that's exactly what you expect to see. Generally not overly favourable for a cold winter, but several possibilities there within the package telling us that, where we've come out for September CET. There's a possibility. It's not a complete write-off, the cold is. Right, okay, let's play the GIF one last time. There it is. Thank you so much, Richard, for the GIF and all the help on the video. Thank you so much to our King of Swing, Richard Trott. Thank you so much to the Ace Master, Shryan Bruin, not only for the ace, but for all the help with this update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. It came out just over 45 minutes, but I don't think, 47 minutes, which is what it's going to be when I start the video. I don't think 47 minutes is too bad. Get through 88 taps. I'm quite pleased with that. We are rocking our winter updates. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We'll have update number 7 for you, same time, same place, next week. And we'll be live streaming tomorrow, Monday, at 8 PM, where we will discuss this winter update. I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions. But for the 6th winter 2022-2023 update from GavsWeatherVids, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.